I don't know, but we're live.
Same thing we talk about every week.
Yeah,
Uh,
pretty much.
I think last week I was complaining a little bit about windsurf in light of them coming to an
Yes.
agreement for being purchased. The
Right.
next day, or perhaps later that day, there was a release note that addressed the crashing bugs, which I
Oh
have not
yeah.
seen, and I've been using it every day. So
Oh, okay.
uh, I'm glad they watched the podcast. And
Top of their list. Yep.
right? Yeah, you gotta check out
Yeah.
what Matt's saying.
And maybe
Yeah,
that's because they were getting acquired, and Sam said, you got to watch this one podcast above everything else, Matt.
yeah. I mean,
And
listen,
they
OpenAI.
made the mistake of me versus Berman.
Yeah, I mean, of all the mats, definitely like between you, Berman, and Wolf, like definitely.
Yeah. Flip that three-sided coin.
Sorry, you made me thirsty by drinking. Do you have that thing like how when people yawn, you'll yawn? If I see
Yeah.
somebody drink on a Zoom call, it's like, yeah, I've got a beverage. I should
Yeah.
drink that.
And I'm about to yawn now because you mentioned the
Oh
word
shoot,
yawn.
I'll try not to be that boring. Oh man, but the audio sounds okay. I've made some changes. Hopefully, it's
Yeah.
not
That's right.
okay. All right, not awful.
I mean, this earphone is not the best judge.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I looked around for news about LLM models. I didn't come up with anything too much. I think Quen or Qwen may have launched the day that we podcasted. I tried it out a
Hmm.
little bit. It's a mixture of models. I honestly thought the results were okay, but I wasn't using it on
Yeah.
anything big, so I
Yeah.
can't say much.
I can't
It's
say I've
difficult these
done.
days.
Yeah, I haven't. Have I done anything? No, I haven't really done anything that would test that recently.
Apparently, it's okay at coding, but I've
Yeah.
got to say I'm pretty impressed with Sonnet 3.5 for a lot of the
Hmm.
CSS work that I'm doing, which
Yeah.
seems to be kind of a common thing that 3.5 seem to be pretty good at front end. Not that 3.7 is bad; it's
Right.
probably even better at coding, but specifically for like
Hmm.
React, TypeScript, CSS,
Right.
there seems to be a lot of people saying that it was actually a little bit
Right.
better. So maybe
Cool.
3.7 is more generic or who knows what, but
Yeah.
I've been liking 3.5 and using a lot of Gemini 2.5 Pro. I'm
Hmm.
sorry. I realize that Olama definitely does have more power,
Hmm.
and there's stuff that I can do with it. It's just it's so
Yeah.
fast. And Gemini is
Yeah.
very cheap in windsurf right now, which
Yeah.
I'm sure you realized. But
Yeah.
it is difficult to argue with that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you been building
Right. I mean,
anything, doing
even the
anything? Yep. Go
huh?
ahead.
Even
Nope.
the powerful models that you get online. If you're once you're okay with, I mean, there's always the security privacy
Yes.
thing, and once if you've got a workload where you're okay with that risk, or maybe all
Right.
your workloads you're okay with that risk, um, but it's amazing how much you can get done for very little money.
Yes.
Especially when dealing with the API per request or per depending on how many tokens you're building. I was talking with somebody just today who was they're building a kind of a agent focused back end. So
Nice.
it's really quick and easy to spin up a back end
I like
for
that.
your agents and host it. And they could be long runnings, which rules out using Lambda for that kind of thing. But it
Right.
can just keep going on and on and on. And they do it, and it's very inexpensive. Um, but he was talking about one of their use cases was for um, when there's a PR to have
Hmm.
it automatically build out the docs, review the docs, find any things that are doing the testing to make sure all of the things
Right.
work, and for anything that's not still not working, automatically trigger. I think somehow triggering whether it's a cursor or a windsurf to like go the next step and just build the continue building. And they were saying it saves them dozens of hours each per
Hmm.
person per week.
Right.
um, and the cost on that is, I think he said something like $2 a month for all
Easy money.
that power. It's like
Yes, easy money. Yeah,
yeah.
what I love is that we're getting to the point where we're trying to attack toil as opposed to getting rid of the
Hmm.
stuff that I really like photography
Yeah.
and artwork and music and movies. Like,
Hmm.
definitely, please help me with pull requests or
Yeah.
merge requests, and that review, that back and forth with the
Hmm.
senior staff engineer who's goodwill, but well, I'm sure I'm bothering
Yeah.
them, and they're certainly bothering me, and it takes like weeks to get stuff through, and
Yeah.
it's just awful. If I can put a robot between us as an
Hmm.
intermediate or something, and that's like, hey Ryan, I think what Matt actually means is like
Right.
you need to have an import statement up here, and for some reason you're
Right.
importing the whole package instead of just a small package or something like that.
Right.
I would love to have those interjections from a bot. Right now, I find that the GitHub Copilot bot is not useless,
Hmm.
but is really close to useless. Unfortunately, even just walking through a standard merge request, that like I
Hmm.
forked off. Somebody else has worked on the code at the same time. We've got a bunch of conflicts as a result, and just help me stash
Yeah.
these and pop them back. That's all I need to do. But no,
Yeah.
it's like pulling teeth. So yeah, that sounds amazing to me. I've also heard of Graphite. Has that come across your radar at all? That's supposed to help with the
Like the
toil.
the
Not like that.
competitor to
Yeah,
Datadog for the graphing.
not like that. No.
I have heard of them.
Graphite for pull requests, I think.
Oh, okay.
Let's see
I
what
don't
it's
know that.
called. Graphite.dev
Hmm.
is who they are. Who apparently is also in the space trying to take care of that toil, which
Okay.
apparently Graphite Reviewer is now Diamond, whatever that means. Diamond.graphite.dev. Okay, sure.
Well, one thing I've been using two different processes. Well,
Mhm.
I wanted to use a different one, and then that never worked for me, and I've ended up finding these other two processes. So the first one was I happen to have a license for GitKraken, and
Yep,
they have
I've
an
used them.
automatic, uh, commit, a message generator, which looks to be pretty cool. But when they first announced it, if you weren't a enterprise client, you were automatically added as an enterprise client, but had all those features turned off, even though
Oh,
you didn't have any of the features, so you couldn't turn it on, which was super frustrating. And they said, well, how did you enable this feature? It's like, I just installed it yesterday. You enabled it.
you
You
tell me.
disabled it.
Yeah, exactly.
So they fixed that. They said, oh yeah, there was this
That's good.
problem, and they fixed that. But
I love how the
uh,
reverse response is you're holding it wrong, though.
yeah, yeah, it's got to be end user error. Yeah,
It's a Git tool. How
um,
much can I get wrong? Yeah.
that's right. And then Windsurf now does the
I,
automatic commit messages,
I, I
and
actually
that's like
didn't
a
know that.
free thing.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that they didn't do that before. I use
Mm,
the button in both Cursor and
right.
Windsurf, and I love it. Actually,
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
Amazing.
Please summarize and squash my changes because I've made
Right.
100 of them. Thank you very much. It is
There's
phenomenal, actually.
also
Yep.
There's also, if you go to alama.com and go to
Right.
models and do a search
Yep.
for Git commit, I think it is. Um, there's a model that somebody has fine tuned for building Git commits for Git commit messages. You just send it the diff from Git, and it will generate. So there's a model and there's a script that runs, um,
Oh,
and it works really really well. It's a little bit sometimes it's a little bit slower,
okay.
but so I'm using that right now for my N8N backups. So I'm doing backups. I don't know if I mentioned this last time.
No, no, you didn't.
So I've got
And,
an
and I and I
automatic.
did find the model. I think it's Git commit message on
Okay,
Olama.
yeah. By like Tavari or Tavarabra.
Tavarnari. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
good
Okay.
memory. Would not have remembered this, but yeah,
Well,
you'll use it.
I remembered it wrong, but
If
you got the
for,
gist of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
for those listening, in case you Google it, I think the first response is Phi4 or Phi4, PHI4 on Reddit, but the one right
Mhm.
under that is the one in Olama,
Yeah.
so you're good to go.
Um, and it will basically export all the workflows
Hmm.
and save them basically if you download any workflow, it's a JSON file. It's just pure
Right.
JSON. And so you it, do the export of all the workflows, save them as a JSON file to the local file system that N8N has access to. That's already cloned from your repo on GitHub, and so it sees, are there any changes, and goes ahead and adds those changes. If there's a
This
new
feels like
file, to add that
brass
new
tacks to
file.
me. How is this
Huh?
not the base? How is this not the base? Like the bare minimum
Yeah,
is you want to
yeah,
back up your workflows, right?
right, right. Well, I think it is if you're paying for it.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I keep
So
forgetting
with
they've got a
the
license, right? They've got a
right,
license and a licensee or whatever.
right.
Yeah, right.
So I'm using self-hosted free,
Gotcha.
and so once it's got all those, I've added the files. Then I do a commit. Well, actually, no. For each workflow that's been updated, there's a new commit, and so this git I do a git diff and for that one file, and then pass that on to that git commit message thing, and it generates a message, and it's not perfect, but it's pretty
Hmm.
good enough to recognize. Oh yeah, that's the commit where I screwed things up,
Right.
um, and then pushes all those commits. So all the things that were changed are all separate commits, and they all get pushed
Fantastic.
up all at once, and it works flawlessly. It's
I
amazing.
will need to recommend that to my other podcast host who runs everything
Yes.
through N8N as well. But
Hmm.
Jason Hand loves N8N
It'll
and
be
runs
the
it for all
next.
the AI calls.
Okay, it'll be the next video I do.
Fantastic. Yeah. It
Um,
feels like N8N really hit its stride on the AI
mhm.
starter kit, I think is what they called. I
Yep.
mean, they definitely caught me in that net. I certainly downloaded and kicked the can a little bit. But it making it easy for people to get
Yeah.
into I don't want to say agentic, but workflow
Right.
based solutions where there is do this and then do that, and maybe
Right.
you're calling multiple models. And
Right.
you've got like an if or an or in there. So like if it goes down this path, do this,
Yeah.
which I think is fantastic because this
Yeah.
I know I've said this before, but this Canvas UI where you're defining workflows with little lines and
Hmm.
blocks feels like the next big thing that's coming out of all of this. Is
Yep.
like democratizing of code is cool, but
Right.
democratizing of workflow, or maybe it's BPM. And I realize
Right.
people hate business process module. Was it
Hmm.
business process something notation? Not
Right.
not fun.
Right.
It's like spreadsheets, workflows, charts, that kind of stuff.
Now,
However, this is a really big deal for
yeah.
business. This is how stuff is
Yeah.
done. On the
Now,
other
there's
hand,
some people.
yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's some
Some
people
people,
that don't like. I mean, there's a couple of main reasons why you might not like N8N.
right,
First off, you think that it's all no code solution, purely no code, and so you have to use a blocks and drag and drop,
right,
um, and that is the main thing. You can have blocks that have code, but
right.
it's bits of code, and it's kind of awkward to
You
debug that
can
code. And
you can call out, right? Like if you had a code, you could call out to a piece of
yeah,
code and then come back. Yeah,
adding external libraries or modules is a little bit tweaky. You have to add that to your if you're using Docker Compose, you have to have a environment variable that says
right.
you want to add that. Um, so it's kind of it's good, but there's problem. But if you want to call out to another service that's running as a web service, that's
Yeah,
super easy.
like OpenAI or Anthropic in our
Right.
case.
Yeah.
It seemed to be pretty
And well,
easy looking at the chart. Yeah,
with OpenAI or any of the AI platforms, even Olama, there's a block for AI, and it's very easy to
right.
call out to those.
It feels like
And
that
for a lot
protocol
of
is common, right? The OpenAI protocol seems to be
yeah,
common
yeah,
across a lot of the providers. Okay,
yeah,
okay,
even though it's not that great, but yeah.
right.
But but the other problem with people that have or other problem people have with N8N is it's not open source, and so some people find that like
Yeah, I had a
that's a
look
no
at the
go. They
license just the other day. It's like there's a term for it. It's like a benevolence or something.
yeah, it's the source is available, but it's not the open source in the kind of more classic term. But then again,
Yeah, sustainable
there's a
use
lot
is
of
what it is.
definitions of open source, even
Right.
though there's this newer open source initiative organization that, I mean, newer, it's probably 10, 15 years old, but still it's a newer org that kind of latched on and became the de facto standard. I don't know. There's plenty of other open source products that do not allow you to easily out download the source without an NDA.
Right.
I've definitely seen plenty of those. Um, Now, somebody will say, "Well, that's not open source." Well, depends on which definition you go with. But anyway, so the tool that I heard about this morning, I heard about it a couple of days ago, but talked to the guy today was is another one that's more for building agents as pure code. So using whatever
Okay.
framework you like, but they're basically hosting the guts of it, and it's called Agentuity. I think, like
Hmm.
Agent Uity. I think that's the name of it.
Agentuity. I did try to Google
It,
that. It came up with nothing. While I'm doing that, though, you did have one. It is Agentuity. I just can't spell.
okay.
You did have one question about N8N, and I think so. So my approach to the question would be like the license might be something. So if you're building a tool on top of N8N, maybe that would be a thing. Maybe you prefer to buy the license, also, which it doesn't seem very expensive. But I think that's what Amir is saying is like when should a
See,
pro look at looking at no code or low code solutions, API connectors
yeah.
for the solution, or sorry, mobile template for their solution, or when would it not be enough? I believe is the
So
gist.
I think the magic for me,
Mm,
I guess there's a few different ways to think of N8N. I mean, for somebody who's not a developer, they can easily put these blocks together.
right,
If you are a developer, it can sometimes be frustrating to put these blocks together because you can't work with certain. You don't have access to the full file system. You have access
right,
to a limited file system and limited libraries, and you can add additional. You can add a code block and put code in there, or you can create new nodes and do whatever you want with those nodes. Um, but what's really magical for a developer is that all the you don't have to worry. You only have to worry about OAuth or whatever authentication mechanism you're using one time across all your
right,
flows. And
right.
so you define that connection with the Google Data API or with Slack or with Discord or with Telegram or whatever tool, Salesforce, whatever tools you're working with, you define that once, and then you can leverage those same credentials across all your flows. Or you have multiple. Maybe you have a Salesforce credential for one part of the organization and another Salesforce credential for another part of the organization, and so you can keep them separate or sharing whatever makes sense for your organization. I think that I mean having to deal with OAuth one time is you'd never want to do it again. And so
It's not that
having
bad.
somebody,
It's definitely not great
yeah, I'd much rather have somebody else who has done it well do it for me. And
in a
so I don't
library.
just,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. I don't like handling my own auth. I've seen too
yeah.
many. Yeah, and I've seen my code in prod. I'd rather somebody else handle this. The other is there's OpenID and things like that. There's other
Hmm.
ways of having people
Sure.
sign in. I think we convinced Amir to go elsewhere, but I will say, Amir, if you want to get started with N8N or Temporal or any other workflow engine,
Hmm.
what Matt's saying in terms of downloading the JSON is great, but you can also take screenshots of the
Yeah.
workflows. It feels like having put people in a room 30 at a time, just walking through a standard workflow.
Hmm.
Most of the work, most of the time, is in designing and running the workflow. It's not the
Yeah.
engine that you're running on. It's deciding
Yeah.
what that workflow is. Now there definitely is magic in some of these platforms, as Matt was saying.
Yeah.
Login is quite difficult. So if you're building your own in Temporal or something of that ilk, you'll have to take care of all these things on your
Yeah.
own. If you're using a tool like Datadog that's hosted, we've got stuff, but it's obviously behind that wall. So if you're looking for something completely open source, there are solutions out there for sure. But if you're just looking at building an agent, I feel like there's a bunch of startups right now trying to help people build agents for better or for
Yeah.
worse. But a lot of the times it looks like you don't even really have to squint, but it looks like a workflow engine to me, or
Yeah.
some way
Yeah.
to action business process
Yeah.
notation. Management, sorry, business process management notation. I should know this stuff.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, BPMN
Okay.
2.0.
Yeah. Which has been the version for 20 years.
Mm, at least since 2006. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's almost
Well,
we're getting up on 20 years.
no.
We're going back to my alfresco days at this point. Like this is some
Yeah.
old stuff.
Well, that's what we were built. The company I was working at was a company called Teamplate out of Calgary, which then got bought out by a company called Capteris out of
Ah,
Seattle or either
right
Seattle or
on.
Tucson, Arizona.
That's hilarious.
Um, and then which
Alberta's
got
right
bought out
there.
by Open. Huh? Oh yeah,
Alberta's right next to me. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And that
yeah.
that got bought out by OpenText.
OpenText, yeah.
I want to see another revolution in what I want to call knowledge management, but whatever those internal wikis are, I want
Mm.
someone to realize that like this is
Yeah.
the ultimate rag for your business.
Oh
Like
yeah.
this is an
Yeah.
internal product. And please, I'm sorry, please don't let it be SharePoint for
Right.
the love of all things holy.
Well, a
I paid a
SharePoint
lot of bills with SharePoint,
implementation
but
that was done when it was done well, it
oh yeah,
was
yeah,
amazing. But
yep.
the big weakness of SharePoint was
It's
that
day
it was
two.
perceived to be easy.
Right. Yeah, day two, day
Yeah.
three, modifying any of
Yeah.
those things that you set up, and having been a business coming in to clean up stuff, as well as been the business coming in setting up stuff.
Right.
The setting up is fun for sure. The cleanup is not fun at
Speaking
all. We're
speaking
both
as a
touching our chest. You can
former
tell. Yeah.
product manager for SharePoint at Microsoft.
Right. Right. Sorry.
Yes. But that when I was involved with the project, it was before it was a SQL Server based product, and it was still Exchange based.
Yeah. Which may have been the better time to be involved. Those SQL databases were interesting.
Yeah.
Nick says, yeah, HR is vibe coding. So a little bit scary on one end when you say
Yeah.
stuff like that. But on the other hand, if they can quickly get me a report, or if they can
Hmm.
hire people faster, or if they can get me more candidates
Yep.
faster to put in my hopper that I can interview, love
Yeah.
it. Like, please
Yeah.
bring it on. What I'm
Yeah. I
hearing,
mean,
though, are
for
more
an
horror stories.
internal application where you
Right.
can make assumptions about
Yeah.
security,
Yeah.
depending on what I mean, HR is involved with maybe things that should be more secure than other internal apps.
Yeah, and Nicholas
Yeah.
raises a good point that I would say if you flip this on its head, so your internal IT security at a company. So Nick's saying as a security person, their job is now impossible as everyone in their company fancies themselves as
Yeah.
developers. As a software development company selling security tools, this is fantastic. But yeah,
Right.
obviously, watch the libraries that come out of, I don't want to say slop coders, but the replets, the ones
Right.
that kind of spit out code for you, the V zeros. Unfortunately, a lot of
Right.
times the libraries are older, or there's typo squatting now, so people are creating
Yeah.
these fake packages to put in there.
Yep.
So watch the packages.
The
Our
it's
SDA scanner is
interesting.
free. Please
Yeah.
use the SDA scanner.
It's interesting that the comment was my job's becoming impossible is now everyone in my company fancies themselves as developers,
Right.
which is exactly the situation that created SharePoint
Right. Because everybody was
because it
making
was
their own little
access.
HTML pages. Yeah, they're in
Well, they're
front
creating
page or
front
access.
page, yeah,
I
and then you
remember
create so many versions, and there's no authoritative source of information, which
so many access
created
apps.
SharePoint. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Access apps
yeah,
that begat access apps that
yeah,
used access apps as databases, and everyone used it as a front end.
yeah.
It was amazing. I know I've said this on the podcast before, but someone told me once that the first access big app within Microsoft was Outlook, and I found that funny ever since. It's just amazing to me. But it was like a test app essentially.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep. But yeah, I used to work with the product
yeah.
manager for Outlook back in the day.
Okay.
These Microsoft project managers, they
Yeah.
tend to product managers. Sorry, they tend to move around.
Yes, we do.
And then Nicholas asks, is there an opportunity for cybersecurity startups in the space to enable? I would say so. It
Yeah,
does look like these problems aren't unique, but they're what would I say? It's like they're tenfold. They've increased by an order of magnitude, is what
yeah.
I'm saying. So things like software composition analysis, which is what I was talking about, and
Hmm.
this isn't a plug. It's an open source tool from us or others as well. But looking at the libraries that you're pulling up downstream or
Right,
upstream, sorry, so important these days. I've
right.
found so many issues. Even just
Yeah.
trying to use Shad CN versus Shad CN
Hmm.
UI is the problem because a lot
Hmm.
of these models just have a cutoff date prior to a lot of
Right.
the libraries that you're trying to use today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, something to make with SBOM easier to
Yep.
deal with, and other. I mean, yeah. I feel like there's a lot of the tools that have existed for a while, for a few years, require somebody with quite a bit of knowledge
Yep.
to process and understand the meaning. And if you can have an AI to process that for you, makes
Yeah, I think a
you more
lot of the
powerful.
tools are based on Cyclone DX. I know the one that I was using from Datadog definitely was. So it's an open source library that allows you to go through and look at stuff.
Hmm.
I'm sure I mentioned this last time I brought it up, but Cyclone DX, at least on the
Mm.
Nodefront also has vulnerabilities in the packages it
Yeah.
uses. And then the response is on GitHub. You feel free to fix it. Like
Right.
PRs are
Right.
welcome. You've got your AI coder. Please help us out, which I thought was
Yeah.
pretty funny. So in case, Nicholas, you're using this for JavaScript, you may see that. But yeah, Cyclone DX
Yeah.
seems to be the root for a lot of the projects. You can look at once I use them.
Yeah.
Oh no. Another follow up for Nicholas with regards to SharePoint. So there was news a few months ago of a
Mhm.
massive security misconfiguration of SharePoint, allowing overly permissive access to files to an AI agent. It definitely sounds
Yeah.
like something that a past me would have done. Just open this up. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to get to this from Claude. Like, just open it up
Right.
to the internet. It's so simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was. It's really easy to open things up too much. And then is
Absolutely.
that the problem? Is that the fault of Microsoft for you being an idiot opening things up, or is
Mm,
it your fault? Not whatever is the
yeah.
person who is configuring it. So yeah, you
SharePoint's a
can.
very heavy tool and it integrates with
Yeah,
Active Directory. So it can
yeah,
be pretty dangerous to expose to the
yeah,
internet. Not great.
yeah,
I don't miss it though at all.
yeah,
I gotta say, I'm just gonna throw that out there.
yeah.
I didn't mind designing pages, throwing them to a SharePoint designer, like somebody who specialized in it,
Hmm.
and waiting patiently for the results to come back.
Right.
I can't imagine these days trying to go through and design one of those pages with Cursor or Windsurf. That sounds like a
Mm.
special punishment that I don't deserve. That code, I don't know if you remember, but it kind of looked like the PHP code. I think it was ASP.NET, but it might have been 3.0
Yeah.
at the time when I was dealing with it. It just had SQL statements and HTML
Right.
all
Right.
together. And it became,
Mm.
and CSS was just,
Right. Right.
and combo boxes, like you'd be defining forms at the same time. It was just this whole WP
Yeah.
forms. And anyway, this is a while ago now, but the code was difficult for me to grok, and I'm sure
Right.
I would require a windsurf, but I can't imagine having to do that now. It would be rough. So I've been building using Astro and
Mm.
TypeScript.
Hmm.
Do you have a framework you've been playing around with front end that I should know about? We talked about Dino last week.
Yeah, I mean, so for I'm just using Astro with TypeScript.
Oh, you use
I mean,
Astro too.
that's
That's somehow
yeah.
awesome. Right on.
We talked about this last time. I mean, we
Shoot.
talked about it after the
Shoot.
show.
I
I
totally
mentioned
missed that
it.
part. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I remember the other
I
things
think
you
you
said
had the
after the
same
fact.
reaction last time,
Like, oh no, that's
or
amazing.
maybe I just imagined it. I don't know.
Right on. Yeah, I did. I
So,
did thank you for giving me advice that I took
well,
two
because we
years
were talking
later.
about how easy Astro was for dealing with multiple collections, multiple
It's
types of
amazing.
collections.
It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing. It turned out some of the functionality I was trying to unlock yesterday is by default, and I had set up routes that
Mm.
disallowed the behavior. But essentially, in Astro, if you drop a markdown file into a certain folder, it builds a page for you. And sometimes
Mm.
that's all you need. It's
Right. Right.
fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
And all it was is I was dropping them into. I didn't understand the
Mm.
directory layout. Like you
Yeah.
need to know
Yeah.
what files do what in
Right.
Astro. Once you get that down pat, it's quite simple.
Yeah.
But I've been very impressed going
Yeah.
through documentation for Astro in Cursor, for example,
Mm-hmm.
pulling up
Mm-hmm.
docs and then building things based on the docs that I have.
Right.
This feels like the right way to learn a framework for me. And Astro
Right.
is kind of a mini framework. It's more of a
Yep.
builder, but
Yep.
understanding how the builder works and what that process is has
Right.
been phenomenal. It just feels like I'm unlocking a whole bunch of potential.
Yeah. 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 I was very impressed with it, and I felt like it was going to be something that would be easy to pick up, 6 months down the road when I hadn't touched it in a while.
Right.
That said, I need to update some stuff because I mean, I did some stuff at work early on, and
Right.
then I'd forgotten about it. And so I probably need to go back in there. So I'll find out if that assumption is really true. That it is easy to take on 6 months after you haven't
So
thought
remember,
about
I
it.
keep making fun of this Theo guy who used the
Oh
Zen
yeah,
browser, which I
yeah.
also did try. I will say so. Theo, my understanding is, how does this work? Theo backs the company that runs Astro, as opposed to Astro Open Source,
Mm-hmm.
Astro Limited, maybe.
Okay.
It's support is not a, what do we call this? Like an angel investor or an
Right.
investor, actually, an
Sure.
angel investor you would know about. And as a result, every time there's a new version of the framework, creates a new YouTube video about taking his site and upgrading it to the newest version. And the
Mm.
last one he did, the founder of Astro was watching the live stream, and then after hopped on a call with Theo to talk about some of the things that Theo was excited with or had a hard time with, and then talked about his experience. Maybe it was the product manager.
Uh-huh.
His experience with the new features that Theo was
Uh-huh.
testing and how bad it felt. It was really
Wow.
interesting to see, because you make this marketing page that
Yeah.
promises all these new features and they're going to be
Hmm.
great. A little bit of marketing fluff, a little bit of hyperbole, and then Theo goes in like, "Well, you said this works, and I can't. What's going on?"
Right. Right.
And he was actually swearing, which maybe this is why I like the video so much. It's like the gloves are off on the Astro V5 video. He's just sort of swearing at it because you get frustrated sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
why the
Yeah.
heck doesn't this work? And
Yeah.
then the founder or somebody who works there got on. They talked about it in a very, I want to say, vulnerable kind of way.
Mm.
It was
Okay.
very interesting to see somebody talking about the way they thought you would use something
Right.
versus the way a fairly popular
Yeah.
YouTuber used your
Right.
tool, and how they were, thought that they overpromised in
Yeah.
some area because of X, and maybe could have been a
Right.
little bit better explaining why. But I thought it was
Right.
fantastic. At any rate, he updated it. I think I watched 3 of them so far, and
Oh
without
yeah.
issues. Couple little things where he was importing older themes and stuff like that had to go out of the way,
Mm.
but it was really entertaining to watch.
Mm.
I've turned a corner on Primogen and Theo. I think they're all right. It's the mustaches that instantly, like, just
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. I know. I know.
Theo dyed his hair and chopped off his mustache, if that helps you.
Okay.
So no longer white hair, or blonde hair, and no mustache. So it looks like a completely different person. But enjoyable,
Okay.
definitely. And I didn't
Okay.
realize he
Okay.
swore on his streams. Not that we should,
Okay.
I don't know. We shouldn't make this a common thing. We don't need to
Right.
be swearing here,
Right.
but
Right.
I did find it interesting to see that sort of human element of
Yeah.
a dev
Yeah.
just trying to. All I want to do is upgrade my framework
Right.
and have it work without too much of a
Right.
hitch, but also be frustrated at the same time was good.
Yeah.
Good watches. So
Yeah.
yeah, try it out, live stream it. I would watch and laugh. You struggling.
Right.
It's just sometimes it's stupid stuff. Like you get stuck in Vim.
Yeah.
I got stuck in Vim the other day on stream.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I've talked about this, but my get out of Vim is Shift ZZ, uppercase Z
Okay. Yeah.
or uppercase
Yeah.
Z. Sorry, we'll get you out of
Yep.
it as well.
Right.
And mostly that happens to do with Japanese keyboard layout. So the colon
Mm.
doesn't need to be shifted and is a separate key, but will
Oh,
produce
okay.
an asterisk on a JIS keyboard, which can really mess me
Oh.
up because my muscle memory is a certain way, and
Right.
then I'll forget,
Right.
and then I get flustered.
Right.
It's like, shoot, I'm just trying to get out of Vim. This is the meme.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the live streams had me
Mm.
stuck in Vim in a remote desktop session, et cetera, et cetera. That's
Yep.
how this happens.
Yep.
When your keyboard doesn't match the remote desktop keyboard,
Right.
it's all types of stuff.
So I watched an interesting video about
Uh-oh.
Vim pretty recently
Okay.
by a YouTuber called No Boilerplate.
Yeah, I've seen some of those videos.
So the video was about like a writing superpower, I think it was, or just
Okay.
about
Writing at the speed of thought.
maybe that might have been it. And it was just talking about Vim mode in lots of applications and
Oh,
how
okay.
it now you've this one set of
Yeah, I'm coming around.
tools is
Yeah.
is magic around. And now I'm able to do it better now because I'm back to a QWERTY layout. So which Vim is definitely a
Right.
QWERTY
It's
first.
yeah.
And I mean
a-
switching to any
absolutely.
other it's really hard.
So what
Um,
Prime was saying is he changes his home row to match what they quote unquote should be. Have you tried
mm,
that before? Because he's on Dvorak, I think.
okay.
That seems like a
I
lot of
just
work.
switched
Going
back to
into
QWERTY.
VimRC and changing all the bindings.
I
Oh,
think that's the way I'm going to die. Is that I'll just die on QWERTY. That's fine.
oh no! No way!
Uh,
How the mighty have fallen. This is amazing.
but what was
But
actually interesting about the video, I mean, the video itself was great, but he's
Mhm.
got this strategy to videos that I've already started to adopt.
oh, okay.
So his videos are very short and very direct, gets to the
Yes,
point
right to
very
the point.
quickly.
Yeah.
And every now and then, I get some commenter. I got a comment today saying video starts at 4 minutes in or whatever, 5 minutes in. And it's like, no,
Thank-
the video starts at 0 minutes in. I'm sorry you don't like where the video starts, but and I deleted that comment. Like,
I
come
would
on,
have started a flame war. just no one
yeah.
past me.
I, um, but there are those people who are like, oh, the video starts. Well,
Right.
so what he does is he releases his original video, with all the extra bits, all extra explanations to his member platform, to Patreon and
Okay.
to YouTube members,
Okay.
and they get it up to a week early. And then there's a edited version that is like cuts out all that extra stuff that I want to
Oh.
say because I think it's important,
Yeah,
but
I like
cut
the
it
extra stuff.
out.
Yeah. Okay.
Cut it out to just, here's how to do the thing. And that's
Okay.
it. And that's what everybody sees unless they become a member, and then they get all the extra stuff. And I thought that's
I
fantastic.
love this.
So,
I am the person who will edit out all the ums and ahs easy. Any
oh,
asides,
ums and
any
ahs,
tangents,
they're out.
asides, tangents, unfinished
I
thoughts,
Well, I mean, every one of my videos
non
is
sequiturs.
scripted, so there are no tangents. There's always,
I
but
can't not tangent.
well, I mean, I'm
It's
just
in me.
reading a script. I'm just,
Right. I hear you.
and then, but still, there are explanations. I can't start without explaining why we're doing
Right.
this
The
thing,
context.
which is
Yeah.
not. There's a lot of people who are going to just say, "Well, you're not talking about the topic, so moving on," because they have this short attention span.
Yes. Which
Um,
is it feels like that's the majority these days. They
yeah,
want
yeah.
instant
But the
gratification.
people who actually appreciate, maybe really like what I do,
Well, the
they are going
beginners,
to
yeah.
get the fuller explanation. So
Yeah.
I
I do
released
like that. Yeah,
yeah.
you've done this already? Put one on
So
Patreon
I
and one.
released the first version, the private version, so the members version.
Yeah.
Went out on my Patreon and my YouTube members yesterday, and the public will see it on probably Thursday or Friday.
I love this. I keep forgetting that you can subscribe. Sorry, not subscribe, but join on YouTube and get
Mhm.
access to. Yeah, that's very cool.
And so the trick for me on this was, I wrote the script, but then I also wrote it with knowing that this section is going to be only for members, and this section is only for non-members.
Ah,
But so I've recorded all the pieces all together,
yeah.
and then I just have this note to myself, hands down. So put my hands basically in the same place, and I'm facing the same way, so it's easy to cut without it obviously being. And then I was
Uh,
like,
uh, I
this,
I'm the king
yeah,
of jump cuts now. I think is what they
yeah,
call them. I
yeah,
legit just chop,
yeah,
chop. I in Descript I just no
yeah,
holds barred. I just chop, and it looks like my head might be this way,
yeah,
and the next one is
yeah,
over here. Doesn't matter. Moving on.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
out the door.
yeah. I should not care, but I do care.
It's hard not caring. I don't do
Yeah,
wipe
yeah,
transitions or star
yeah.
fades or
Oh,
any
I don't do
fade
any
to black.
other weird transitions. No,
Yeah,
there's no
because there are ways
Star
of
Wars
masking it, right?
wipes, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are ways of masking it. Like you can fade to
sure,
the next frame and it's
sure.
less jarring. I'm
Yeah,
not doing any of that.
yeah.
Just,
No,
just straight up.
yeah.
Throw
In
it
fact,
in.
I will, between cuts, maybe the beginning of the phrase is I'm in a weird place, but by the middle of the phrase, I've gotten to roughly the same place, and I will cut right middle of the phrase, or even sometimes middle of the word, to get to the
Oh,
point where you don't see it at all.
very cool.
And
Now,
other times I can't help it.
what is that? I'm trying to think of his name. Is that YouTuber who's always talking about epic B-roll? But it does feel like when you have B-roll that you can
Yeah,
cut to something else when you're
sure,
cutting the frame. So
sure.
if it's your desktop or what have you,
Yep.
I'm trying to think. It's a magician slash
Oh,
photographer.
yeah.
There can't be more of these.
Oh, is that like
Casey,
McKinnon?
yeah, Peter
Peter
McKinnon. Thank you.
McKinnon?
That's exactly who it is.
Yeah, I don't
Epic
understand.
B-roll.
It's like he's often in the video. It's like it's not his video; it's somebody else's video about Peter McKinnon,
Yeah,
which is kind of bizarre.
just odd. Yeah, the collaboration
Yeah,
stuff I guess makes
yeah,
sense because you get both audiences, but also his videos tend to start 2-3 minutes in. It's like So today I got up and I grabbed some coffee, and no one cares, Peter. I'm so sorry. Like if you were telling me the context for how you got to this tool, or maybe
Right.
hey, talk about GitHub PRs are such a
Yeah.
pain. Sometimes they can take weeks. I'm
Right.
here for it. Me
Yeah.
making
Yeah.
coffee in the morning, getting ready for this video, totally not here for it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No.
Matt wakes
I don't
up,
do any of that
rubs
stuff.
his eyes, grinds some. No one cares.
No, I don't.
Sits
I don't do
down,
that stuff.
big
Yeah.
sigh. Yeah, no one cares.
Yeah.
LeBron James of all people is
I'm
in the
sure.
comments.
I'm assuming it's a real person.
I mean,
I.
definitely.
I mean, I
It,
don't. I would
if there's
recognize if LeBron James was in front of me, I wouldn't know it. Like, I don't know what he looks like. I assume he's tall,
uh,
but that's about all I would.
there is a LeBron James song that I would highly recommend people listen to about the Fire Festival. I think it's called Dinner with LeBron James because it's one of the
Okay.
things the Fire Festival guy was selling, and it was
Oh, really?
such a good song.
For
But yes,
Fire
I think
Festival 1 or 2?
for two.
Both which
I think two
does.
is canceled. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if you're caught up on the news.
Yeah.
But I'll read this for you because it might feel weird to read it for yourself. Matt, I just spent the week running through all of your lessons. Thank you so much. Super helpful. Please, much more if possible. Much more MLX.
Much
My
more
apologies,
MLX.
if possible. So I
Yes.
also had a coworker talk to me. I don't want to say nonstop, but like, listen, they just started and they won't shut up about MLX. And some guy on YouTube who's got MLX videos that I should watch. I know that guy. I've watched one of the
Did
videos,
that
but maybe I should
colleague
watch
actually
one.
mention me?
Mentioned a YouTuber with There's only one YouTuber with MLX videos. I don't think there are. Like having looked, there
I think
aren't
there's a
many.
couple. Yeah.
Nah,
I don't know.
I
No?
mean there might be, but not to your level
Okay.
of detail. Like
Okay.
not even close. Yeah,
Okay.
I think you cornered this market, so maybe you
Yeah.
should
I
be
mean, I
some
only
more.
have like 2 videos or 3, maybe
I
3.
think you got three because
Okay.
maybe I have watched them all. But
Okay.
if you look on YouTube for MLX, you'll
Yeah.
basically find your videos, and it does
Okay.
feel like a good series. People are now starting to understand. Not that we're at the limits of Llama CPP, but we're getting close.
Right.
But also on Apple hardware that you can
Yeah.
unlock a lot. And what the Cork and I
Yeah.
were talking about is if you want to deploy things to an iPhone or
Right.
maybe an Apple Watch or an
Yep.
iPad, you can use MLX to run smaller models and
Wow.
ship them as part of your app. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Some of these are tiny, like is it small LLM? Is just
Oh, yeah.
tiny,
Yeah. Yeah.
just and actually pretty handy for
Yeah.
summarization, novel ideas. Like
Yep.
it can do that stuff no problem.
I mean, I use I use that tool called CoTypist, and with that, I'm always using a super small model,
Which one
and
are you
it's
using? I've
amazing.
seen CoTypist. Yeah. What's the model?
CoTypist is going to give you the next 5 to 10 words as you're typing.
Yeah. Which model are you using though?
I don't know. It's like a 1B model of something,
Nice.
and
I've
it's
got
amazing.
like I think it's 3.2 is the smaller llama. I've gotten some pretty good results from
Yeah.
3.2 as well, which is surprising to me.
Yeah.
So
Occasionally, you
listen,
always get the 7 League boots, but ignore 7 League boots.
yeah, best MLX videos.
Okay.
Would agree, hands
Cool.
down. We'll give Matt this W, I
Yeah.
guess, in the
Okay.
parlance of Prime. He gets the W on this one. Yeah. But seriously, it's a big win because there isn't a
Yeah.
lot of compact, and the Apple documentation is there, but it felt inscrutable for me.
Yeah.
It felt like I needed a
Yeah.
Matt to translate the
Yeah.
docs. Which is fantastic. Now, listen, no one's complaining in the chat about my voice. I'm using a noise canceller so that I can run my AC, but let me know. I think you can hear the AC when I talk, especially when I'm talking for an extended period of time. But I'm using what I'd like to recommend that no one buy because it's extremely expensive is the C Suite CVox for the Apollo
Oh, yeah.
platform. I'm sure you're in the Apollo
Yeah.
ecosystem as well. It's like $350, which is a lot in Canadian. But I used the bundle thing because they just had a
Yeah.
vocal special, so
Yeah.
I got two and got it for the same price. I got one for free basically. So I was
Well,
happy about
I
that. But I
managed
love
to
it.
get. Yeah, I mean, I got it too.
Oh, nice! It's
and
actually good. It's not R9, like
is.
it's not
It is.
it's not whatever that isotope.
Yeah.
Isotope, sorry, but it's close.
Yeah,
Awfully
and
close.
I was able to. There was like a deal on a deal on a deal,
Ooh,
and I was able to
love
get
these.
like a three plugins for $99,
Ooh, love it.
including CVox.
Ah, nice.
So CVox I got for like $30.
It's surprisingly good. I think this is mostly like for those in the audience who might be operatic singers or vocalists.
Mhm.
I think it's geared towards that. But if you're running a podcast and you've
Yeah.
got like a loud computer fan, which I've got on my
Yeah.
right, and a loud AC fan, it as long as they're not oscillating, I found
Right.
it can get rid of them no problem. I think I do hear
Yeah.
a bit of a whine, but it's
Yep.
phenomenal, and you can turn up the room noise as well, so
Yeah.
it's not too
I don't
bad.
really understand it completely because it's like two numbers and it's almost like magic.
Two numbers
Um,
and a switch, so it's got
and a switch.
attenuation
Yeah.
and it's got ambience
Yeah.
because I'm looking at it, and then it's got
Yeah.
noise versus room, and it's kind of like I want noise and room, and I definitely
Yeah.
want to get rid of
Yeah.
all of the noise,
Right.
and I don't want
Right.
to hear the room. So
Right.
to make this make sense, if you mouse
Yeah.
over it on noise, it says "will remove noise," and if you mouse over room,
Yeah.
it says "sets room tone." Like this is
Yeah.
super helpful. What else is going on? Why did I
Right.
have to pick
Right.
a preset? Like, what does a
Right.
preset do? There's no other buttons in
Yeah.
here. I don't understand. There's
Yeah.
a bypass one that's in the background that you have
Yeah.
to search for. It's not the best UI, but it does
Yeah.
work.
I got it when I was still on the Octava mic, and it kind of
Okay.
needed it.
Oh,
Um,
it
and
picked up
I
the whole
don't think
room.
I actually need it now with the MKH50.
You sound isolated, like there's a
Yeah.
pinpoint pointed at your mouth these
Mm,
days. So like when I'm talking right on axis, it's how
right.
you sound all the time. I don't know what that
Yeah.
cone is, but it's hitting you perfectly.
Yeah. Well, one thing actually, when I got this, I also had learned something else about. I mean, it's kind of a boom microphone, so we're about two
Right.
feet away,
Yep.
um, and I've always aimed it at my mouth, and and I saw something pretty recently. It's like, no, don't aim it at your mouth. Aim it here.
No way. So
Aim
similar
it
to
right
the
down here,
like
and
that.
then it. Yeah, I
Oh,
mean, I don't know about with that kind of microphone, but I mean,
interesting.
for that
It should
boom
work for
kind of
this, but I mean
microphone,
closer better. But yeah.
it will because that's where the kind of the more boomy. I mean, if you want that
Oh,
boomy kind
the
of voice,
baritone. I mean, that's
yeah,
unfair.
and
You've
that's
already got
what,
the boomy baritone.
yeah,
You're
and so
cheating.
it's just richer when I aim it here
It,
versus
it,
when I aim it here.
it's very rich, and I've often
Yeah.
wondered how you can get away with that with those DJI or
Oh
what are
yeah.
the wireless goes, the Rode wireless goes.
Mm-hmm.
People who you see them in videos because they're on their
Yeah. Oh
chest,
yeah.
and I always wonder how they sound so good because it's
Yeah.
not. Like, I thought you had to be
Yeah.
here. That makes a lot of sense. So it's picking up that
Yeah.
chest, the cavity.
That
That
vibration.
is
Yeah.
really interesting. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that. All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. If you want to
Yeah.
start a competing podcast, Matt, and make maybe some MLX
Yeah.
videos before he
MLX
does,
videos.
the
Yes.
race is on. So we got to get a Shure. What is it
That's
called?
This is the Sennheiser
Sennheiser
MKH50.
MKH50. I think
Only
it's a
fourteen hundred
paltry.
dollars.
Yeah, it's a paltry $1,500. I
Yeah,
think he might have got it on sale. Yes,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
gorgeous
I mean,
mic.
this is totally ridiculous. I mean, the Octava was good enough, and that replaced something I had, which was the um, there was another one that started with I think another mic,
Mm.
but a
Audio
cheaper
Technica maybe.
company. No, not Audio Technica. Another
They
one.
make okay mics, but yeah, not great.
Yeah. But and that replaced a actually my do I have it here? No,
I,
the Heil PR40 that I used for a long
yeah,
time,
remember that one?
and before that I was on Audio Technica like a lavalier mic.
Right.
So
The labs. Yeah.
yeah,
I tried to buy an Antelope Audio less than
mm,
50% off, or more than 50%.
hmm
So less than 50% of the cost. And the person at
yeah,
the audio store didn't really argue with myself and my partner, but made a very strong case as to why I shouldn't buy it. And it
mm.
felt like if I still bought it, my partner would look at me like I was a complete idiot. So I didn't buy it. But like one, it was used. Two, the
Yeah.
person who returned it had nothing but a really hard time with the drivers. And then
Oh,
when they
okay.
did get it working, had to unplug it from the internet and all these things. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it sounds good. This
yeah.
would be like my replacement, my third Apollo Solo, basically.
Oh,
And he told
okay.
me you should probably just try different plugins or try your setup. Like
Yeah,
it's got to be like the Solo works for everybody. Apollos are
yeah,
kind of everyone
yeah,
uses them, so
yeah,
figure it out. And
yeah.
I
I mean
got the
this.
noise plug-in and it's fine. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess they
Yeah, I mean
work.
this audio interface has been. I mean, I've had before. I was using well, I had one like M Audio. I think is the first one I
Yep.
had, which is part of Avid,
Yeah, they got
um,
bought out. Yep.
and that was okay. But drivers was always a pain in the ass, and you always had to
Yeah.
use that iSecure or iLock or whatever.
iLock. Yep.
Um, and then I switched over to a um,
I'm not
was
here
one
for
that
dongles.
requires,
Like
huh?
2025 should be like a
Yeah,
like security
yeah,
dongle, a dongle this
yeah,
year. I don't
yeah,
want any more iLock dongles.
yeah,
Thank you. They've got an
um,
iLock or eLock dongle, which is like
yeah,
a virtual USB card, which seems
yeah.
pointless to me.
Right.
But whatever, here we are.
There was another one that was one that required no drivers, and that worked great. You just plug it
Nice,
into Mac and PC, and it just works without
nice.
drivers. Magic. Um, but um,
Now the
but then
Apollo does
switched to
that. You
this
can
maybe
just
two
plug it
years ago.
in and it
Oh
works, but you
yeah.
can't use any of the plugins, and it's
Right. Right.
and you get no amping. So,
Yeah.
so on the Audio Technica that I had at the studio, I had to turn it
Right.
up to max. I think it was like a 20,
Right.
2010 or 2100. It just sounded
Yeah.
terrible, just
Yeah.
terrible. But what about yourself? Have you been watching any TV or movies or anything? I've been coding. I
I
don't know what's wrong with me.
yeah. I
Coding.
have started restarted Suits.
Oh, Meghan Markle's show, right? I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did like that show until the second
Uh,
or third season where
oh
everybody's
yeah.
got a love triangle going on. It's
Oh
just a
okay.
bit much for me. But the
I'm
first
just
season,
doing that
they
first
seem
season. It's great.
it's like How to Become a Sociopath, the TV series. The first season is like, wait,
Yeah.
because the new guy is coming in. He's like
Right. Right.
the fresh new
Yeah.
guy, we'll say. He comes in and everyone's like, what? Like, why would you do that? Like,
Yeah.
what are you wearing?
Right.
Why did you come to work in a scooter or like a
Right.
bicycle? Why?
Bicycle. Yeah.
What is this
Yeah.
messenger bag? Yeah, there's a whole bunch
Yeah.
of that I thought was
Yeah.
entertaining. Like
Yeah.
the growing up as
There's
a
like
mid 20
six
year
or
old.
nine seasons of this
There's a
show.
lot. There's a lot.
Yeah.
And it gets a little bit into the not general hospital kind of, but there's a lot
Yeah.
of interpersonal relationship stuff, which is important. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
EQ is
Right.
just as important as IQ. It
Yeah.
just felt like that's not why I started watching the show.
Yeah. And we've finally we're up to like episode 6 of Andor.
Oh, I've heard it's
And
quite good. But there's less
I would
magic.
say episode 6 is the first episode that didn't suck.
Okay. Okay. Did you
I
cry yet?
was like no. There's nothing to cry about. I mean,
I- I'm told there is.
it's nowhere
Let me
near
know
as
if you
good as the first season. First season was magical. This one is like, oh my god! I
Is
just want one episode to not suck.
Is it better than Mandalorian?
Oh yeah. Oh no.
No, not
Mandalorian I
better.
thought was great.
Okay. Yeah, I like the first couple seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. I no. I mean,
Except
No.
for that Carl Weathers episode. I mean, rest in peace,
yeah,
Carl. But
okay.
it was not
Yeah.
great. He wrote the episode,
Yeah.
and it was not wrote and directed. But
Yeah.
it was fairly obvious. But Rosario Dawson, I thought was fantastic. So that's what I was watching the show for.
Dawson. Okay.
She was
Who's
in
that?
I want to say Mallrats back in the day.
Okay.
Is how I know about her.
Hmm.
But a good actress, and definitely carried the comedic episode that Carl
Right,
Weathers
right.
directed. But comedic in Star Wars universe just feels a little bit
Yeah.
weird,
Yeah.
like hammy. I don't know, hamming it
I
up.
see there's another Star Wars animated but aimed at like a 4 or 5 kids are going through. I don't really know the full story, but it looks like it's maybe something that my daughter can watch. Because I mean, I think pretty much none of the Star Wars is something I would want Stella to see yet. Even though I was 7 when I saw the first Star Wars, because it came out in '77 and I was 7, and we all went.
There was Clone Wars, but it's not that, right?
No, it's something. It's a new series right now.
Is it Droids?
No,
Oh, this is 1985.
Disney.
Interesting. Oh, it's on Disney. Sorry, I should
Disney
have
Plus.
Disney. I
It's
definitely
on
don't.
Disney Plus, so because that's where Star Wars stuff is.
I mean, if I picked up Disney Plus, I'd have to get rid of Windsor for Cursor. And this is what I've picked. I've picked instead of streaming. My
Yeah.
monthly fee is now 2 IDEs. Got to figure this out.
Yeah. Let's see.
And no one wants to talk about watching Cursor write my code. It's less interesting apparently than talking about Andor. I don't know.
Is it No, it's Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew.
Okay, so it's a year old. Tells the story of 4 kids searching for their home planet after getting lost in the Star Wars galaxy and the strange aliens and dangerous places they encounter on their adventure.
This actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Huh. Excellent. So it's at the same time as The Mandalorian. Yeah. Very, very
Yeah,
interesting. Okay.
yeah,
All right. I find this universe is kind of expanding. Is it a
yeah,
multiverse?
yeah,
There's like
yeah.
layers. It's difficult for me to, in my mind,
And
figure out what should be where.
and because I now have Netflix,
Mm.
I started watching Three Body Problem,
Oh, right.
and
Did, did you get any further?
I've finally finished the first episode after falling asleep twice trying to get through the first episode.
I did
Um,
actually fall asleep in the first 10 minutes watching
yeah,
it. I don't know what
yeah,
it was about it. I think it's the music. There's like the
yeah,
way they scored it or something. It was a snooze
right,
fest,
yeah,
but it was good. I enjoyed the series and would
okay,
probably watch it again. I thought it was good.
yeah,
Having listened to the book, I thought that
right,
series was
right,
the best one. Yeah,
yeah,
it's the
yeah.
thing.
I mean,
And
I say I made it through like 20 or 30 episodes of the first season of the one on Prime.
right
It was like a bazillion episodes.
now, have you watched Wheel of Time?
No,
Because it's on
Tony
season
got really into it.
3 now. It's
Yeah.
it's interesting. I like the role reversal. Like the
Hmm.
female witches are more
Right.
important than the warlocks, I think, or like
Yeah.
accidental, what have you. The acting was fairly middly. They said it could have
Yeah.
been better because of COVID, and I think the joke is the second
Mm.
season should have been better,
Yeah.
and the third season's out now, and it's like
Yeah.
should be even better.
Yeah.
People are waiting for it to
Discovery
get
of
good.
Witches was another good one.
Oh, haven't heard of that.
That's on Netflix,
All right.
or I think it was on AMC at first, or maybe Stars. I don't know. It was on
Oh,
another channel, but now it's on Netflix.
this isn't Matthew Good. This isn't the same Matthew Good, is it?
Yeah, I think that's.
Interesting.
I think that's who it is.
Matthew Good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
very cool.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, he's a good actor, so yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, maybe I'll watch that. I'm not
Yeah.
big on witches and witchcraft, but I'll give it a watch for sure.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun.
All right. Anything else we
Um,
should check out before we
I
find
don't think
the quit
I've
button?
bought
You
anything.
trying to save some
I'm
money?
I'm still
It's summer.
researching the piano.
A piano. Yes, to
Yeah.
purchase. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you come
But I
across
haven't.
the Akais or Kawais? I think they're called. Like there's
Kawhi
a
is another one. Yeah.
Yeah, really nice brands. Yamaha, I think is what I told you last time. Is the
Yeah. Yeah.
really easy choice.
I it's hard to there's well it seems like it's really hard to find one store that has both Yamaha
Yes.
and well anything else.
Anything else? Yeah.
Um, it and in fact it's hard to find a video. I've only seen one video that mentions both Yamaha and I think Roland.
Right.
Um, and so it's they say they're better than better sound, but you won't know it because you'll never be able to compare them.
Right.
Which is, I mean, if they were confident, they. Uh, yeah,
I tend to look at legacy, like who's made pianos longer, that kind of
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
I think Roland is a product of the '80s. Not that that really matters, and I think
yeah.
Yamaha's been around much longer
But
than that.
Yamaha, I mean, a analog piano and a digital piano are like completely different
Yeah, but you
animals.
got to understand, like their years of making motorcycles definitely helped them make an
Yeah, yeah,
electric piano.
yeah, yeah, sure.
Yamaha is one of those companies that seems to make a lot of
A lot
things.
of things. Yeah.
A lot of things.
Oh, I see.
Uh,
There's a new. I saw like there's a bazillion videos about another company that makes a lot of things. They're the new camera, Panasonic
S2?
S12.
Yes.
And
Just
of
watched a
course,
video on this camera. Are you a GH7 user, GH9 user?
I was a GH1, GH2, GH3, GH4,
Okay.
GH5,
Okay.
but now I'm on S2H, S2,
R for photo,
SX,
H for video, X.
2X,
Okay, the crossover.
SH2, I don't know, something like
They
that.
do have very weird names.
Yeah,
S2HX, I think might be it.
yeah.
It sounds like you're better off where you are.
Yeah.
Is my understanding. So
Well, I think
it's
the
half
next
overlap
camera
sensors. Yep.
the
Go ahead.
next camera that comes out is the S2 with the or S12 with the S2X
Sensor.
sensor
Yeah.
and will be the best of all.
Yeah. The BSI sensor I think that you've got currently seems to be the best for
Yeah.
video readout, which is what you're
Right.
using it for. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
this is just me watching
yeah.
Petapixel over lunch, but yeah,
Oh,
that
okay,
was
yeah.
the conclusion that they had.
Gerald
It's a good
Undone
video
did
though.
yeah.
Yeah, so they were down in Austin and shooting around there. It was pretty good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, would recommend a watch.
I
I
don't
like
need another
Prismaticals.
camera, so I'm good.
Yeah, I've been looking at those L mount lenses on the other hand because there
Mhm.
seem to be quite a few now that are worth looking at, especially those
Mm.
Panasonic Leica co-branded lenses
Yeah.
actually look pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially for portrait video kind of
Mhm.
work. I'm getting into the
Yep.
vignette kind of like a 10-second video of
Right.
somebody.
Right.
Right? Just because AI can't do it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
soon AI will be able to do this no
Yeah.
problem. But taking a photo and making it into a video is still fairly
Mhm.
obvious,
Mhm.
and it's very easy to make a video when you're taking
Right.
photos of somebody. Just hold record for a
Right.
little bit, let go,
Yeah.
and you're good to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
L mount glass someday. I'll
Yeah.
get there. All right, shall we find that button?
I think so. I think.
Thank you very
Is there
much for the
anything
comments in
else?
the chat. That
Yeah.
was awesome, Nicholas and LeBron, and who
Yeah.
else do we have? Amir. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. This is good. All right. Let me find that finish button.
All right.
There. And there we go.